All right. I do apologize, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. This is our first live that is actually a visual. So we really wanted to answer some of your homeschool questions. I know that many of you are thinking about homeschooling or remote schooling, and we wanted to just have a conversation with you. We are the host of the Cleverly Changing podcast that airs bi-weekly, and we wanted to just take it a step further and not just do an audio conversation for you, but also to do a visual where you can add your comments and questions to the chat. And a couple of days ago on Instagram, I sent out a message asking people what their questions were. And so we wanted to take a few minutes to answer those questions. So if you are joining us, there will be a replay. We will also upload it onto YouTube as well. So you can either watch on our Facebook page or our YouTube page. But without further ado, can you introduce yourself, Miriam, and tell everybody a little bit about your homeschooling journey?
Okay, I'm Miriam, and I have been homeschooling since, for like 3 years. I took my oldest out of public school in the middle of third grade, and we've been moving along ever since. I have three other children. Um, One will be going to second grade, and one starting kindergarten. And we also have little baby, and he's just, tagging along for the ride for now.
Yes, yes. So you have four little ones. And for those of you who don't know, I'm actually a mom of twins, and my children are going into the seventh grade. They are 11, and they will be 12 in October. So we are excited about this journey. It's a middle school journey. So we are finishing up those elementary years, and we really kind of want to give you some tips about the elementary years because we're going into the middle school years. And so it's kind of a new experience for us. But we are excited to share our own experiences with you guys and answer your questions as best we can. So can you tell everybody a little bit about your educational background?
That would be okay. So I have an undergrad from bachelor's, it's called. I have a bachelor's degree from the University of Maryland, and I have a master's degree from Towson University. And Elle and I went to high school together, and yes, I think that covers the education. My subject matter has been in language arts and professional writing, literature. I do editing and writing and that sort of thing, along with teaching the babies and growing.
Yes, yes. So right now, so many families are thinking about embarking upon that journey and unenrolling their children from school, which you have done, and teaching them on their own. And we've gotten a lot of questions over the years, but the number one question that we always get is, what curriculum should I use? That is the number one question. And there isn't really a short answer to that because there are hundreds. It could even be thousands of curriculums. And there are so many because children vary. They're not all the same. They don't all learn the same. And you as a teacher are, as a guide for your children, as we like to say, you have to do what feels comfortable for you. So you can't just say, oh, my friend is using, we're going to use an example, Abeka. And that is a Christian curriculum. for some people, that's not necessarily going to be what they want. They want a secular curriculum. So if your friend is using a Becca and you want a secular curriculum, then you're going to have to look elsewhere. So you can't just say, oh, well, you're using that, so I'm going to use it, because it may not be a fit for your child's learning style. Your kid may actually be bored out of their mind. And you don't want that to happen in order to find success. So what would you tell them? Because I know with your experience, you had to look for a lot of different curriculums.
Yeah,
Can
curriculum
you
shopping
speak on
is pain. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. It's very stressful. It's not something that is it should be taken lightly, because you have to really pay attention to the details, and you also have to pay attention to your child. So if you if you think that they'd be more receptive to something that has, manipulatives and things like that, that's a great way to go. If you know they like to read, well, maybe a Charlotte Mason style approach could be good. If they're more auditory, you need something that is more tailored to the listening experience. That doesn't mean that you don't, you know, make use of the other senses, but you want it to be something that's going to be approachable for them. So I know with my oldest, math, we try to use things that have stuff to touch. Um, a lot of times we kind of, I'll say, play it by ear and just bring in our own little toys, I'll call it. Um, what are those things called? Acrostics. Those are very helpful in remembering the steps and the order of things. Um, for my other daughter, she likes to read a lot. So we can do things that involve reading, and she's happy. And it works. So I think when you're looking for a curriculum, you really need to make sure that you're thinking about what's best for your child, not what you like or what you want to do or what's going to be easiest for you. It does matter to some degree, how you're able to interact with it, because you have to bring it to the children. But in my experience, we're adults. We can get over it. We can make the switch a lot easier than they can.
Right. I like to tell people, and I like to remind myself, that we have to be flexible. And so that means that sometimes you may think that a curriculum is going to work, but when you get to the point where you see that it isn't, then you have to try something new. And I think a lot of places do allow you, especially with the online schools. So during the summer, it's a great time to sign up for their free trials to see, and you're not going to do it as rigorously as you would during the school year, but take advantage of those free trials so that you can see what is going to work while over the summer, so that you'll have a better idea of what you can implement for a longer period of time. And I will also say that in my experience, you can't do literally everything online. So if you're doing an online curriculum, keep that in mind, that you're also going to have to do things offline as well. So I know last year you used a new curriculum, online curriculum, and we introduced that on our podcast more so at the beginning of when you were using it. Can you tell us the name and how it went?
Well, we used Funcation Academy. Um, it was is I don't know. We're on the fence about it. She didn't thoroughly enjoy it, but I think that the bigger reason behind that is she just doesn't want to do schoolish stuff. So I think that's the real reason. She doesn't want to do schoolish stuff. But she did enjoy the fun clubs. They have these things called fun clubs. And you have art, Legos, all different kinds of things, trivia. And she did enjoy attending those. There is three subjects that come with it. And then this is the plus. I think they have two things, some called plus and prep and something else. So the three subjects are math, reading, and language and writing, something like that. Yes, those are the three. And then once you hit I think it's sixth grade level on all three of those, then it opens up some science and one other subject. I can't remember which one it is. And so that's how that works. We ended up, by the closer to the end of the year, we ended up using it less and doing more child-led activities, I'll say. So I think, I probably won't do it again for her, unless she's begging, which I don't think she will. But I think we're gonna stick with the child-led, because I don't want to, wear her out and have her, disenchanted with the whole
learning experience. I can definitely understand that. And I think that's something that we should all keep in mind as well. So you paid for the year, was it for the year?
Yeah.
So sometimes you can pay for something for a year and then you can find out, hey, this is not a good fit. And so I think even with me, I do also take kind of a self-directed approach to it, because the whole point in my philosophy as a parent and a homeschooler is that you want your kids to love learning. And so when you come to an impasse or come to a point where they're resenting their education, that is the perfect time to start to pivot.
Yeah, and don't be afraid of it. You got to let it go. I mean, yes, you're losing some dollars, but is it really worth it? That's the question. Is the relationship or the peace of mind of your child worth X amount of dollars that you spent on whatever it is?
Right, exactly. And so, one of the questions that we had was, what are your thoughts on unschooling? And we do have a podcast that does talk about unschooling. And for those who don't know, Akila, we did a podcast with Akila Richards from Fear of the Free Child. She has a podcast of her own that is all about self-directed education and unschooling. And if you have any questions about that, I definitely encourage you to check out that podcast. I believe it's episode 19. So if you go to our podcast page, and I will put it in the chat section, the link to our podcast, I will put it there so that you can check it out. But I believe it's episode 19, and she talks about unschooling. So I know that after that sort of experience, you started to explore unschooling. And so one of our questions, let me see who asked that question so that we can shout them out. This is Elmo Smell. It is
I'm scared to
Elmo. If I am saying that wrong, I do apologize. So it's ELMO. All right. So
Elmo?
yes. Yes.
Okay.
All right. So that person asked, what are your thoughts about the unschooling method? So um, I definitely directed him. She has a new book out as well called Raising Free People. So definitely check out her book and check out her podcast. But it is an idea that you started to explore. So can you share a little bit about your thoughts on unschooling and your new approach?
I absolutely love it. So I guess part of me has been, a little afraid to really go there because for the state of Maryland, they want proof, right? And so unless you join an umbrella, which can be, I don't want to say annoying, but you got to pay for that as opposed to the county, which is free. It's just you because we've kind of been indoctrinated that school is this thing, right? It takes a lot of mental fortitude to be able to break those holds. So it's, we've kind of played around with it. I'm getting to the point where I'm really okay with, kind of going full fledged with it. What I've seen a lot of people say about it is, what do you do if your child doesn't seem particularly motivated to learn things, or if they, always have some pushback, some kind of retort as to why they can't, shouldn't, won't do whatever it is. Them having a lack of trust in you for you to say, hey, let's check this out. And they're just like, please, mom. And then, you kind of feel like you're forcing them to do something that they don't want to do. I mean, part of life is doing things you don't want to do. I mean, that's 75% of being a grown up. But in the same breath, when it comes to taking on information and learning things, you want them to enjoy it. You want them to internalize it and to be able to use it as they move forward with life. So I'm really like to the point where, yeah, this is what we're about to do 100% of the way, and, see how it takes us, because I I get tired of, the pushback and the fighting over stuff that's not really a big deal. So I mean,
Right.
that's where I am with the unschooling thing. I think it's excellent. I think that once your child sees that you're not trying to colonize them and push what you want on them, that they'll start to open up more, and that lack of motivation you may have seen, or lack of direction, or just disinterest in things in general, I think you'll probably start to see some of that fall away when they realize, hey, I really can have some power and autonomy here and do things the way I want to do it.
Right.
Right.
So I wanted to show just really quickly the episode with Akila is episode 24. And I have put a short link on the screen. So it's bit.ly/CCS podcast 24 if you want to listen to that later.
It was excellent, if I do say so myself. But I was fanning out. I really love Miss Akila. She's a wonderful resource and support system there.
Yes. So I wanted to also talk about when we first got started, because again, we've been doing this for a while. For me, this will be my 7th year. What year is this for you?
I 3, 4. I don't. You know what? I'm not the counter I don't even know when my anniversary is. Seriously, I don't think we have one. Maybe we do. I don't know. I'm not the counter. I like to live in the moment, and that is where I stay. And yesterday was yesterday.
Okay.
Sure. All I can tell you was she was in third grade, and I think we're seven now.
Going into the seventh.
Yeah. Yes, I think so. So that's 3.5, 4 years. I think yes.
So this will be the fourth year coming up, I believe.
Okay, that works.
All right. So I also wanted to tell people, like, when you're getting started, you may feel the need to get a whole lot of curriculum and a whole lot of things, but I would say don't overdo it. You know, maybe get one or two or three things, but don't really go through every subject with a whole lot of curriculum. You know, that first year, you need to kind of mix and match and try different things. So I will definitely share on my blog tomorrow morning. I'll share a post about some of the different types of curriculum that do exist. But what happens is earlier she mentioned Funcation, and even in my own experience, I have purchased books and workbooks, and I've purchased curriculum, and it didn't work that whole year, and I ended up wasting money. When my children first started kindergarten through maybe third grade, we actually did something called classical conversations. And I'm going to say a little bit about classical conversations for those who are hearing about it for the first time. I'm going to tell you what I liked and what I didn't. So classical conversations is not really a curriculum. So you may hear people talking about classical conversations as if it were, but it's not really a curriculum. What it is a foundation of knowledge that you can expose your child to and also supplement it with an actual curriculum. So it's really just kind of memory work where you're giving your kids all of this knowledge, which at first, those first 3 years, they're not acting on it. They're really just memorizing it. So it's really based on just rote memorization. And that's what we did at first. My kids, though, they wanted to start putting into practice the things that they were learning. And so for me, who came from a more traditional school setting, I went to public school growing up, it was a bit awkward for me to get adjusted to. I did like the memory work because it truly was a foundation. Now that they are in middle school, we still reiterate those exact same topics. But I believe that my kids can listen to the CDs, they can still go over the memory work, we can still practice the flashcards, but we don't have to do that in a community in order to make sure they get that information. So for me, I didn't necessarily find that community a place of support. And so it wasn't something that I continued. But for some people, they love it and it is perfect for them and their family. And so if that is the case, you go for it. You have to see what works for you and your family. As far as a box curriculum, I have never been a box curriculum type. So I always would get different source materials from a variety of different places, and then I would bring them together and give my kids different things and teach their lessons. What I would do is go on, what is it, One Excel?
Oh, IXL.
IXL.com. And I would look and see what were the core concepts that they needed to know for that grade. And I taught my children based on the concepts. And then I would look on Pinterest for activities to fulfill that particular concept.